Setting recording.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the final Toastmasters meeting of 2020.
Woot, woot.
And as the agenda says, the topic of the evening is the best of times, the worst of times. Rob, speaking of the best of times, would you please lead us in the national anthem? How about the either or, your choice.
Oh, no.
If you will all please mute yourselves and focus on my voice and my screen and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say can, oh, I'm sorry. Back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rob. Our Toastmaster tonight is Joyce Matheson. I can pronounce that one. Joyce, would you please take us into the meat of the meeting?
Yes, I will. Don't worry. As long as I can remember my name, you can mispronounce it all you want, as long as I can still remember who I am. And if I'm not coherent, then we're going to have one heck of a meeting. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was 2020, age of two-ply and hysteria. Enough of that. Let's go on to our meeting. I'm going to call for the joke of the day. Jackie, I understand you have a joke for us.
I do, and this is from my dad to my sister, so if it's bad, blame him. Why did the optometrist have trouble going to the bathroom? He kept saying, number one, number two, number one, number two, number one, number two. You're welcome.
That was beautiful. I loved it. I'm going to add one myself. Why do ducks have feathers? To cover their butt quacks.
Ooh.
Womp, womp, womp. Enough about me. I see that we don't have any program changes, nor do we have any, well, we have one guest. Jackie, would you please introduce your Nima?
Yes, this is Nanny. Nanny, say hi to everybody. Hi.
It's good to have you, dear. Now I'm going to pass it over to our president. Ian Adams, take it away. No, wait, I did it wrong because I can't read. My apologies, I went to public school. I'm going to bring it on over to the general evaluator because that's what the paper says. Steve Schwinn, take it away.
Thank you so much. My job as general evaluator is to oversee the meeting for quality of execution and participation by all parties in good taste. And we are going to fly at it. I have a number of individuals who are going to assist me in my evaluation of the meeting. And tonight's first evaluator will be Ron Slaba, who will be evaluating Jackie Grayville's speech. Can you fill us in on your role?
I certainly can. Thank you, Steve. I will be evaluating Jackie's speech. Jackie is speaking to engage her audience with humor. The purpose of this project is to determine her style of humor and apply it to a speech that centers around a central message. Length of the speech is 5 to 7 minutes. Back to you, Mr. Evaluator.
Thank you, Ron. Our second evaluator is Dean Carath, who will be evaluating Mary Syrie's speech. Dean?
Sure. Mary's speech will be the evaluation and feedback speech. The purpose of this project is for Mary to present a speech on any topic, receive feedback, and apply the feedback to a second speech. And Mary, I assume this is your first speech, not the second. Okay, great. And it will be a 5 to 7 minute speech.
Great, thank you, Dean. We have a timer who will fill us in on her role, Christina.
Thank you, Steve. Tonight I will be timing the speeches as well as table topics and the evaluations. Speeches, both 5 to 7 minutes. At 5 minutes, speakers will see the green board, which I will hold up until 6 minutes, at which time the yellow board. And at 7 minutes, the red. Speakers then have 30 seconds to finish their speeches before the end of time, I guess. I don't know what happens. They drop through the floor. For table topics, it's 1 to 2 minutes, 1 minute green, 1.5 yellow, 2 minutes red. The evaluators will have 2 to 3 minutes, at 2 minutes green, 2.5 yellow, and 3 minutes time to wrap up comments. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Christina. Grammarian, immediately to Christina's right, is Eric Stepper.
Thank you, Steve. For the day, as grammarian, will be syllabub. Christina has put it in the chat, syllabub. You guys are all very veteran and this will be the challenge. It is a milk or cream that is curdled with an acid beverage as wine or cider and often sweetened. Used in a sentence, on special occasions, grandma would serve syllabub for dessert. How does that relate to the theme of the meeting, you say? Best of times and the worst of times. I knew my grandmother, her desserts could be the best of times or they could be the worst of times. I will be looking for nice uses of the English language, and I will be looking for egregious uses of the English language, and I will give a report when called upon. Remember, word of the day, use it. Thanks, bye.
I gotta say, that's one I'm having trouble pronouncing, much less now I'm gonna use it. Finally, our counter, Ian Adams, will tell us about his role. Ian?
Thank you. My role tonight will be to keep track of filler words. Words like but, like, so, you know, well, and a number of others that just don't belong in our formal or everyday sentence structure, if you will. I'm pretty good at this role, if I don't mind saying so myself. And unlike the syllabub that I missed this holiday season, I'm not going to miss many words. So I will be, I just got my cell phone right there. I will be reporting back at the end of the evening.
Thank you so much, Ian. That's the
It's like it's my turn.
evaluators, and now back to her.
Can we maybe all mute our things except for the person talking?
Steve, I apologize. I was trying to keep you from drowning.
I appreciate the leg up.
Best I can do, the least I can do. It is time for me to read some introductions while my cat gallops across the floor like a Clydesdale. Jackie is unavailable tonight, but in her place, we will be hearing from a very special guest, Magnolia Rose. No Jackie, Magnolia Rose. Thank you. As soon as she gets everything, take it away, Magnolia.
Hello, my name is Magnolia Rose, and I am Jacqueline's angel. her guardian angel. And I have to say, 2020 has been quite the year for all of us guardian angels. We have been very, very busy. And I know all of your guardian angels have been very, very busy as well. I don't know if you know this, but our guardian angels, us guardian angels that watch over you, here's how it works. It works because we get an intention from upstairs, of course, and that intention is something that is supposed to happen in your life. And we do this by whispering in your ear. So if you've ever had something pop into your head, maybe I need to call so-and-so, or maybe I need to fill in the blank. That was probably your guardian angel whispering in your ear. I have to tell you something specific about me, Magnolia Rose. I do not like shortening names, so I'm going to refer to my person, my girl that I'm assigned to as Jacqueline, not Jackie, Jacqueline. Wouldn't like it if they called me Maggie. Magnolia is so much more beautiful. So if I call you by your full name, it'd be like Christina or Patricia or Ronald. That's where we're going with this. All right. So earlier in this year, there was an intention that got downloaded for my girl, and you may have known what it was. It was for Jacqueline to travel all the way from Wenatchee to England, which of course, as you might be able to tell, is my heartland. And I was so excited for her to go to school. So what I did was one day I whispered in her ear, I said, Google flights. And she rolled over and went back to sleep. And you know, sometimes as angels, we really need to repeat ourselves. So I said, Google flights. And then my girl got it. Jacqueline opened up her phone and she found the flight. It was a beautiful flight to begin with. She thought it was going to be lovely and smooth sailing, or smooth flying, as it were. But she didn't know what I knew. I knew that it was going to be a much more crazy journey than she expected. She thought she was just going to drive to Vancouver and fly straight to London. But she forgot about one little thing, or one big thing. COVID-19. Let's try that again. I know you can do it. COVID-19. Brilliant. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You're excellent at this. So I knew that she was going to have to get an extra flight from Seattle. But what I did was I empowered her by giving her a mantra. So if you've ever had a mantra pop into your head, or if you're a person of faith, a verse or an encouragement or a line from your favorite movie, that is likely coming from your guardian angel. Here's what I gave her. I gave her the mantra. Everything is falling into place. And whenever she got nervous, I just whispered in her ear, everything is falling into place. And she did a good job of remembering this. And her speaking coach was constantly telling her, which I was very annoyed about, by the way. Christopher is his name. He calls himself Chris, but it's Christopher, we all know. He said, I don't know if you're going to be able to get into Canada because of the whole bag thing, and just be aware that you might not. And I gave her another mantra. She's a little bit of a rebel, if you don't know. And she thought, I'm going to make this happen so I can say, and I whispered in her ear, suck it, Chris. That's what she wanted to be able to say on the other side. The day came. These poor mortals, y'all have to get up in the morning, early sometimes, and I really feel sorry for you, because we don't sleep as angels. So we're never tired. But this poor girl, Jacqueline, she got up at 3 in the morning. Here was her whole trip. She went from Wenatchee at 3 in the morning to Seattle, took a flight to Vancouver, and then a flight to Calgary, and then a flight to London. And then what she didn't know about London Gatwick, where she landed, was she was going to have to take 4 trains to get to Worcester, and then she was going to have to take a taxi. And then once she got to the school, a gentleman was going to help her get to her room. It was a good thing she didn't know this, or else she might have had some issues. But I want to take you to the moment where she's standing at the ticket line in Seattle. She's repeating in her head, everything is falling into place. And I went over to the ticket person and I whispered, whatever you have to do to make sure the bags go through, do it. And Jackie was closing her eyes and saying her mantra, and her parents were standing there. I could tell they were getting worried, but I knew that was going to happen. And after 20 minutes, the ticket agent said, you're all ready to go. Your tickets and your bags are all set. They're going to go through. And in Jackie's head, do you know what she said? She said, suck it, Chris. And everything is falling into place. It was a long journey. And 2020 has been a long journey for all of you, for all of us indeed, who've been so busy. But what I want to leave you with is one word. This is a word that dear Jacqueline picked for next year. It is listen. Listen when something comes into your head, because you never know if your guardian angel has something special in mind for you. And I know they do for 2021. It's been a pleasure to be here with you, Miss Toastmaster.
Wonderful. It was lovely to meet you. Tell Jacqueline I said hello. Christina, may we have 1 minute time? I think my guardian angel drinks.
I think she might. Her best friend might be Chardonnay.
All right, we have 1 minute. Thank you, Christina. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, there are 600,000 words defined in the English language, but that number includes many old-fashioned words that are not in use anymore. A more useful word count from the Oxford English Dictionary is 171,476 words that are in current use. The average adult native speaker of English has a vocabulary of between 20,000 to 35,000 words. Our next speaker doesn't know how many words are in her vocabulary, but she might take that on as a project in 2021. Please welcome Mary Cyree. I love words. I love words, Mary Cyree.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. A few years ago, I spent the night with my best friend from high school, Rosalind. A hallmark of our overnighters has always been staying up way past midnight, talking. This particular visit, she said that she was in a swivet over her upcoming retirement. I had an inkling of what she meant, but yet I had to ask, define swivet. Oh, she replied, it just means that I'm nervous and excited all at once. Swivet. Isn't that a great word? That's what I love about being with her vast vocabulary. She has more words than Mathesons have apples. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, most of us are here because we want to improve our communication skills. What better way to communicate than to have the right word at the right time? Tonight, I'd like to share Rosalind's inspiration for collecting words and also examine the relevance of learning and using new words. Rosalind's father instilled in her a primacy of building a vocabulary. I knew him, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about him and how he influenced his daughter. He was born in Norway in the late 1800s. Yes, he was an older father, well into his 50s when she was born. After serving in World War I, he immigrated to Canada. This necessitated him to learn English as he continued his education and became ordained as a Lutheran minister. Learning English was fortuitous in his public speaking career. He became fascinated with the duality between the Norwegian and the English languages. English is a rich language, Rosalind, he said to her. There are many words to choose from in English than there are in Norwegian. You can find a word that exactly expresses how you feel and what your opinion is. Being able to articulate is what makes you an interesting and an eloquent person. Have gratitude that you were born using this language. Learn new words, but use them with care. Learn new words, use them with care. How do we learn new words? I did a bit of research, and I think he would agree with me on this. The number one best way, no competition way to learn new words is to read. When you read, you see a word, you see the spelling, you have context, you visualize the word, and it resides in your brain. And if you're really curious, you look it up in the dictionary. There are other ways of learning new words. Word games like Scrabble and crossword puzzles, two of my favorites. Undoubtedly, there are many apps available that help you build your vocabulary, but I'm not an app user, so you're on your own there. I do, however, visit dictionary.com every day for word of the day and the crossword puzzle. Oh, and it's a new year. You can get yourself a 2021 word of the day calendar, much like I did in 2019. These are my favorite words, my stash of words, I like to say, and it's no small beer. When you make it a habit to find new words, you must make it a habit to use new words. Possessing a large vocabulary can present a dichotomy. On one hand, there are the aforementioned benefits, but on the other hand, if you become a wanton word slinger, you risk alienating people, and that would abnegate the benefits of being a good wordsmith. There's no need to pepper our speech with a surfeit of words that nobody can understand. The trick is to encapsulate new words in a sentence where context supports the definition and people will understand what you're talking about. Like the word swivet. I'd like to give another example. My husband's favorite dessert is syllabub, but because of a gallbladder problem, this year we can't have rich desserts in our diet. I bet you can infer the meaning of syllabub from that context. I love words. Does it show? If you love words too, good tidings. There's a word for people like us. Logophile. 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 I'd like to close with a quote from Tim Gunn, the co-host of TV's Project Runway, and someone I could listen to for hours. Few activities are as delightful as learning new vocabulary. So true. Madam Toastmaster.
Wonderful speech as always. Christina, may we have 1 minute on the timer? So I can just pronounce.
That's a minute.
You. I believe I made a syllable once. It was milk and Pepsi. I heard about this recipe from Laverne and Shirley. I didn't care for it. Moving on. It is most wonderful time of the meeting. Table topics. Pat, please take it away.
Okay, table topics are tonight connected with the theme of it was the best of times and the worst of times. Just to update you, when Charles Dickens wrote The Tale of Two Cities in 1859, this is how it began, and I'd like to share it with you. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness, it was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity, it was the season of light, it was the season of darkness, it was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us, we had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven, we were all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received for good or evil in the superlative degree of comparison only. Actually, he was referring to 1775, the time of the French Revolution. But his point was that period was like the present period in his time of 1859. In the mid-19th century, in Dickens' view, it was the best of time and the worst of time. So I thought that for table topics, which is your opportunity to do some spontaneous speaking and fit it within a 2-minute time frame, that we would use some of the words that Dickens used. So let's start with, it was the age of foolishness. Rob, when in your life was the age of foolishness?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. I don't want to beat ground that I've already covered in the past in some of my speeches, but probably the age of foolishness for me was ages 9, 10, and 11. When I was growing up out in the Arizona desert, we didn't have any responsibilities. We were pretty carefree. We had parents that were responsible, so we didn't have to be responsible. So I guess for me personally, it was when I was a young boy. I guess the other thing that I've never shared with you is that we oftentimes would get into the liquor cabinet in my parents' home and take a double shot of syllabub whenever we could. Probably not a good idea because at that age, it can stunt your growth. But that was the kind of foolishness that we would do when I was a young boy. Now I'm a bit older, a bit wiser. Now I drink syllabub in moderation. And I always try and look at the bright side of everything, no matter how bad it is in the world. I feel that I'm always that person that views a glass half full rather than half empty. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much. Selena, when in your life was there an epoch of belief?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics. In my life, there was a time of belief when I thought it would be a good idea for our family to travel for Thanksgiving to the beach, to a wonderful beach house that was an Airbnb. We'd never done that before, but we believed it was going to be an excellent time. So we left Wenatchee with about 3 hours planned for our trip. 3 hours there. We were halfway on our way to the beach, stuck in traffic with a detour ahead that took us through a neighborhood that was already decorated for Christmas with themed music to go with the light show. We were in that neighborhood for 3 hours. I believed that traveling through this neighborhood would be a great time until we finally got out of there. We started to feel hungry because we hadn't packed any snacks in the truck because we thought it was only a 3-hour trip. The dog was hungry. A building that looked like a ranch was on top of it. It was a mattress ranch. And I told my daughter I could eat a mattress right now with a little ranch dressing, which resulted in a little bit of hilarity, but we were still really hungry. And I asked my husband, who had planned our Thanksgiving dinner with a turkey breast that you could put in the oven in its container. It was a real easy Thanksgiving dinner. I asked him, how long will it take to cook that turkey breast when we get there? He said, 3 hours, and it's not funny. But we continued to believe. We made it to the beach house, and we had a syllabub of a time because we all believed it would be fun. And that's my story. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Lloyd, can you tell us of a time that you experienced an epoch of incredulity?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. I think that epic for me, well, that epic is a movable thing, actually. I've experienced it many times, but I'm experiencing it right now too. It's striking me more and more odd that such a large number of people in society seem to think that political statements are a rational thing to offer in a discussion about a medical or public health issue. What I'm referring to, of course, is specifically the use of masks. You may have heard that the Costco in Union Gap, just south of Yakima, had a major outbreak of COVID-19 a couple of days ago, 2 or 3 days ago. They have 68 people diagnosed. They even had to close the store for a little while because they didn't have enough people to work. And a bunch of people posted comments on the Wenatchee World website entry of that story, practically gleeful about the idea and hoping everybody else who wore masks got it too. And that strikes me as more and more and more unusual. And so for me, this is the current day is the epic of incredulity. You would assume that if you want to know something about a medical or public health issue, you should listen to a medical or public health expert. But no, you listen to whomever you happen to believe is politically aligned with you. Very, very strange. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Vicki, can you share with us at a time in your life that was a season of light?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. A season of light. I would have to say that this year, this Christmas, has been a wonderful time. 2020 has given us our ups and our downs. But when I think about last year, 2019 Christmas, we had, our family had just gone through the loss of a pregnancy that my daughter-in-law had had. And then this year, she became pregnant again, and she delivered 2 days after the anniversary of that miscarriage. And so having this time with this new infant at Christmas time was a time where we were together enjoying family, and having gone through everything that we have all gone through in 2020, it was nice to just be home, be with family, and be connected. And that was a wondrous light time, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Dean, can you share with us a time that was a season of darkness in your life?
Darkness. Yes, I've had a few episodes over my days. Probably the very first one was back in the early 80s when I went through a divorce. That was a pretty dark time, and I felt pretty bad about it at the time. And struggled quite a bit, did a lot of self-examination, which actually turned out to be a good thing. I remember in the midst of my upset, gradually feeling better. It took many months, and I learned a lot. And as time went on, I realized that it was just something that had to happen, given the state of my ignorance about life, I guess, if you want to call it that. And through Toastmasters and volunteering for different organizations and getting some counseling, I made a lot of changes and feel like I came out a lot better. And now I tell people that it was one of the best things that ever happened to me, even though it was very dark at the time.
Thank you. Thank you. Ron, can you talk to us about a time that was a spring of hope in your life?
Well, Patricia, I am drawing a blank on a spring of hope. I mean, I'm looking for something that's really significant, like other folks have shared here. I suppose I'll just share something that's occurred more recently with my son, who a couple of years ago graduated from college, got a job over in Western Washington. Good for him. And amongst his friends group, he was one of the only ones that got a job right out of college. Wasn't all that great a couple of years ago. The rest of them did eventually carry on, and they got jobs as well. He had enjoyed his time in Western Washington. And here a couple of months ago, he found a job in Wenatchee that was listed. Wasn't really looking to move from Western Washington, but it was something that he was certainly qualified for. And he applied for it. And I helped him a bit with his application materials. He's 24 years old. It isn't something he certainly has a whole lot of experience with. And when it came to interviewing, I coached him some on how I thought he could approach some of the questions that he might be asked. And sure, I had some hope that he would land the job and he'd be able to move back home. We get along with our son pretty well. Well, lo and behold, he did get an interview for that job. He felt he did pretty well in the interview. He did get the offer and he did start. This is his 3rd week. So during that time, there was that hope that he would be successful, and we weren't let down. So in light or in dark of everything that has been occurring in 2020, there was some, just call it some light at the end of this tunnel in 2020 in December. It was hopeful and he got that job, and so far he's doing well and he likes it quite a bit. Back to you, Madam Table Topics
Great.
Master.
Thank you very much. Steve, any time in your life that was a winter of despair?
I would probably piggyback Dean's sharing. Probably one of the worst experiences of my life was being cast aside, being left by a woman who I believed would have been with me forever. And I sunk to the depths of despair. I was not fun to be around. I was the most miserable person in the world. And had I had to put up with me, I would have never done it. The beauty of it all was that ultimately it opened the door to introspection, a lot of personal learning, and amazing growth. In spite of what you all might think about my character, I came light years in learning about myself. And I won't go into the whole story of what I was doing, but basically it was journaling, and I kept writing about how bad of a person I was and who could have wanted me in the first place. And finally the light came on one day. It was 3 months, 4 months down the road. And that was some months after I'd already been miserable and steeping in that mire of despair, when suddenly I wrote in my journal, "You are a great guy. You're a good person." The light switch flipped and I found out that life was good after all. It was indeed a character building experience. Terrible thing to experience, but we can take lemons and make some lemonade. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric, was there a time in your life when you believed you had everything before you?
We're all kinds of duties and things and rocking and rolling. Repeat the question.
Oh, sure. Was there a time in your life when you believed you had everything before you?
Thank you, Miss Table Topics Master. There's probably several times when I thought everything was ahead of me. Probably one of the earliest was when I was 3rd grade. I was asked to be in a play, and that was very cool. And I wanted to do some acting, not anymore, but back then I did. And was Sleeping Beauty, and the girl I crush on going to be the princess. And if you know how the story goes, you got to kiss the princess to wake her up. Well, I was too stinking shy to even let her know that I was in her. I thought, holy cow, this is just set up on a tee for me. So we have the play, and she's laying down there on the bed, and I go and I give her a smack right on the lips. And, she kind of shivered, but she held it together and didn't start wailing on me. I could tell right away this probably wasn't received well. Anyway, after school, I come up beside her thinking, okay, now I've made my entree. Now I've got the world ahead of me because she knows my intentions. Well, she promptly kicked me right in the shins about 4 times. And she said, "You are not supposed to really do it. You were supposed to fake it." Well, that was the end of that. I came back down to reality. Thank you, Table Topics Master.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you everyone for sharing your life experiences. You've created a marvelous syllabub of what it is to live a life, the ups, the downs, in the best of times and the worst of times. And now, Madam Toastmaster, I return the stage to you.
Thank you very much, Pat. This has got to be one of the best get-togethers that we've had so far, just for the fact that we get to hear everyone's stories. Speaking of stories, we get to hear the evaluation of speeches. Let us start with the general evaluator. Steve, you can prevent me from talking even further by taking over.
Thank you, Joyce. Our first evaluator, Ron, will now share with us his insights and perspective on his speech evaluation.
Oh, I'm up. Thank you, Steve. Yes, I will share my opinion of Jackie's speech that we listened to just a little bit ago. Jackie came out of the gate strong like she always does, and she shared with us this accent that we've also heard in several of her other speeches when she takes on a different persona. The one that came to mind was from the viewpoint of her dog, I believe. It was something similar to this. Very well developed accent. I liked the names for, let's see, the guardian angel Magnolia Rose, and then Jackie changed up her own name, called herself Jacqueline in this. And Magnolia Rose told pretty interesting story, series of events of Jackie, her trip over across the pond. And it was the delivery was excellent. I enjoyed the delivery very much, and I think everybody here did. And Jackie, you've had plenty of experience with that particular accent and with your delivery. I like how you stood up, you used as much of the room as you could, moved in and out to the camera appropriately, good hand gestures, overall movement, vocal variety, use of pauses, etc. And the delivery itself, I think, is what drove the majority of the humor in this particular speech. To work on, I think you could embellish the content just a little bit so that the content itself is more humorous. And when you are delivering humor, I think it's okay to embellish. Don't consider it a lie. It's just, well, embellishment. An example, we talked about Ralphie May earlier before we started the presentation. Go look up on YouTube, Ralphie May $97 salad. It's about an 8-minute clip, and he speaks about how he wrestles one of the people in the audience down to the ground like a cow. Now, did he really wrestle her down like a cow? No, he probably engaged her, but just the way that he sets it all up is pretty fabulous. Something else that comes to mind is the movie Pulp Fiction. Now, I saw that movie in the theater when I was in college, and there's a point about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through where John Travolta, Vinny, shoots Marvin in the face in the car, and the whole car just inside of the windows explode with blood. And you wouldn't think of that. And of course, the way I described it and the looks on folks' faces here, it's not funny, but the whole theater erupted in laughter because of the way that it was set up. And it's just content. Would have really happened that way? No, but just a good example of something that embellished was really funny. To challenge yourself in this particular speech, I'm going to suggest, and this would be a stretch goal, try a different accent. Your normal accent is great. The one that you shared with us tonight is great and well developed, but to challenge yourself, go ahead and try something different. Overall, I thought it was great, just like they all are. Thanks for sharing with us. And back to you, Sir General Evaluator.
Thank you, Ron. Well done. Now we will hear from Dean, who will give us his perspective. Dean.
Okay. That was a great speech, Mary. It was a delightful, friendly speech with an element of virtual syllabub to it. I thought your lighting was pretty good. I do note that the lighting on you is better when you're closer to your computer. It was a little bit dark back a bit, but that's okay. It was good. I liked your gestures. They were appropriate. There's only one that I can remember that really stood out to me when you referred to yourself and you put both hands on your chest. Me, that was good. You had an enthusiastic and fun delivery. As always, it looked like you had a good time up there. Your introduction started with a story about meeting your friend, and you talked about how you often stayed up late in the evening of the day you met. And that really caught me because I could just feel the excitement of your meeting your friend after not seeing them for Lord knows how long. And maybe it's just the state I'm in, not having seen any of my friends in person for months and months, but that was part of the story that seemed very visual and really caught me. You also talked about how you learned a new word, and that led into your speech, and about how you love to learn words. And at that point, a little bit, I was wondering where you were going with that. But then you explained to us, your audience, a bunch of Toastmasters, that our desire to communicate is enhanced by learning new words and enhancing our vocabulary. So that really made it relevant to me and made me want to learn more. And you taught us more. You talked about the various ways that we can learn new vocabulary. You talked about reading, dictionary.com, the apps, a calendar. One thing you could mention that I didn't hear, or if I did, I forgot it, was podcasts and videos of well-spoken individuals. And then you mentioned that we need to use those words. Very good. You learn them and then you use them. And I really liked your caution about not overusing too much of your new vocabulary. Too often I've had to read articles at the same time I'm Googling too many words, like what the heck do they mean? So that's a very good caution. And you closed with a relevant quote about how delightful learning new vocabulary is. I have a suggestion that you could also have summarized some of your points and then also added a close to action. We're all Toastmasters. Get out there and learn new vocabulary and use it in your speeches. But overall, it was a wonderful speech, very helpful to me, and I enjoyed it greatly. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. Well done. That takes us to our timer. Christina, can you tell us how everyone did in their speaking roles, time-wise?
Yes, I can. I can't believe I can, but I can. Jackie's speech was 7 minutes, 27 seconds. Mary's was 6 minutes, 6 seconds. For table topics, Rob, 1 minute 43. Selena, 2 minutes, 6 seconds. Lloyd, 1 minute, 34 seconds. Vicky, 1 minute, 9 seconds. Dean, 1 minute, 19 seconds. Ron, 1 minute, 58. Steve, 2 minutes, 9 seconds. Eric, 1 minute, 50 seconds. Our evaluators, Ron, 3 minutes, 27 seconds. Dean, 3 minutes, 14 seconds. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you. And now Eric, how did we do with grammar?
I get out of bed, I wake up positive, and so I had trouble keeping track of egregious use of grammar. But the word of the day, which I thought was a tough one, was used quite a bit. Joyce used it once, Rob used it twice, Ian used it once, Mary used it twice, and Selena, Dean, and Pat said the word. I'm not sure it was the right definition. Joyce said a cat galloping across the room like a Clydesdale. Rob said glass half full, not half empty. Jackie, I can't go without mentioning your accent. I love that. And you said you introduced mantra and you gave an explanation of it, and you said soak it. Pat, epic of incredulity, season of light, season of darkness, spring of hope, winter of despair. Wonderful, wonderful. Selena, you said eat a mattress with ranch dressing. Came right in with the story. I love the way you did that. Steve said leg up, deaths of despair, open the door to introspection, light years, steeping in a mire of despair, light switch flipped, lemons to lemonade. Ron said out of the gates, persona. Mary said more words than Matheson's have apples. Swivet, gratuitous, rich language, eloquent, dichotomy, word slinger, abdicate, pepper your speech, encapsulate, logophile. You got to really keep your pencil sharp when Mary's speaking. That is my report, Mr. General Evaluator.
Well done, Eric. Thank you so much. Ian, counters report.
Jackie, you were clean tonight. Magnolia, you had 2 butts, 6 so's, 1 and 3 repetitions. Joyce, you were clean tonight. Nice job. Steve, I caught 3 ands, 1 repetition and 1 other. Ron, 4 us, 1 so, 7 ands and 1 well, 3 repetitions and 1 other. Dean, 1 3 buts, 7 ands. And I noticed that the ands that are the inappropriate ones that you're using are very subtle and very quick. There's a difference between those and the purposeful ands, which are the purposeful ands are very defined. It was interesting to catch on to that little pattern tonight. And you also had 1 repetition. Christina, you were clean. Eric, you had 1 well, and you had 5 repetitions and 1 other. I caught a so for myself. Pat, 2 so's and 1 other. Rob, you had 1 other. Selena, you had 1 so and 2 repetitions. Lloyd, you had 2 us, 1 but, 1 so, 2 ands, and 1 well. Vicky, you had 2 ums, 1 so, and 1 and. That's my report for the night. Back to you, Steve.
Very thorough. Thanks, everyone. Good job. I've watched, and we've had this comment before about our meetings. We're here to polish our skills and become better speakers and better leaders. And because of familiarity, we get comfortable with one another. And I think sometimes we get a little casual in our meetings. Tonight was a bit the case, and our past meetings have been along the lines. I think I mentioned that to Eric in a conversation not so long ago. I'm truly guilty of becoming a little too comfortable with everyone and having a bit of fun sometimes. I think there's a amount of that that's okay, as long as we don't get to making it the good old boys club where we have a tumbler full of scotch and a cigar and banter about. We had a couple of stumbles in the agenda. Mine was evident in not paying attention to who I wanted to next introduce. And table topics was exemplary tonight. The pace was fast moving. The questions were well done. They were delivered quickly and smoothly to the speakers. The speakers all rolled off with their thoughts and then returned it back to Pat, our table topics master. Very nicely done. I thought it felt really good. As Joyce said, our meeting was a good one tonight. Ron, in your evaluation, I liked that you were thorough and thoughtful in your comments. And I like the fact that you went back to the beginning of our meeting and plucked out that reference to Ralphie as you unfolded your evaluation. It was a pretty good meeting. That's what I've got for you. And I will now return the meeting or turn it over to Lloyd for any further thoughts.
Okay. First of all, who should we send our speaker of the evening vote to?
Rob.
Okay, Rob, please do that. I'll fill in the time here while we're waiting for that vote by saying that next week we have an extremely important event coming up, and that is the return of the electric toasters to an independent operation. That's going to happen Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. I'll put the link to that meeting in my email out to everybody. If you can make it there, that would be great. You may not know this, but in addition to Ron and Ian, who are Toasters members, Mary and Vicky and I are dual members of both clubs. So it'd be great if some of you could sit in on that next Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. That may sound early, it's not. There are numerous 6 a.m. clubs, including the Cascade Club down in Yakima. So 7 a.m. if you can make it. Okay, let's see, wait a minute. Rob, don't count them up yet. I haven't sent mine in.
You can turn it over to Ian if he has any closing words.
Oh yeah, okay. Ian, take it away. Fill in some time.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Oh.
I don't have too many, well, I don't have anything additional to say. You've covered what I wanted to talk about, which was the initiation of the return rather of the electric toasters meetings. Again, it was a Tuesday meeting. It's now going to be a Wednesday morning meeting at 7 a.m. And our meetings are about 45 minutes long, a little bit shorter than what we do on Monday nights. And the reason for that is that most of us we're working class. We've got to be in the office by 8 a.m., unfortunately for us.
And Christina had something also.
Okay, Christina?
Just wanted to congratulate Rob on completing his training. Saw that in the paper, Rob. Congratulations. Way to go.
Thank you very much.
Nice job, Rob.
I do have one other thing, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Eric, can you remind us of the address where to send our dues?
1523 3rd Street in Wenatchee, 98801.
Great, thank you. And we do have a winner this evening. I'm glad that we waited for Lloyd's vote because the name he put in the chat, I think, was Mary. I think it was your friend's father. Was that who you meant to vote for, Lloyd?
Sure. I'm having a little problem tonight with the with the typing.
Lloyd voted for Marty, but I think I know who he was truly trying to vote for. We have a winner, and the winner this evening is Mary Syrie. Congratulations, Mary.
Thank you, thank you. I just wonder if people caught how many words of the day I had in that speech.
I did.
Yeah.
I have them all around my monitor. So that was a lot of fun to do.
I heard encapsulate.
I heard several. That was great, Mary.
Abdicate was right out of the gate.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Small beer.
No small beer.
Small beer. Okay.
Well, thank you, everyone. I hope everybody has a very happy new year. I hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas, and we'll see you all next Monday.
Happy New
Night,
Year.
everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.